developments in Cyprus specifically, and how the refugee crisis that is going on around us has impacted or affected asylum issues here in Cyprus. Over the weekend, with the tragic events that happened, at some point I was thinking whether this is still the time to have such a seminar, and obviously it was not something that could be foreseen, but I came to the conclusion that it's even more important, as mentioned by our first speakers. It's important to keep up the feeling of solidarity, to keep up the feeling that these principles of asylum must be maintained no matter what. And I think towards all stakeholders involved, but especially towards the public, if a message is sent that there is in our own country preparation for the arrivals, as well as the reception, as well as the integration, if we keep working at this and try to improve this, I think it's the biggest reassurance towards the public to keep up the solidarity and to keep up welcoming refugees into our country. So now let's go on exactly to see how this first reception in the conditions of an emergency will take place. But first, I will also switch from Greek to English. I don't think I will do as good as Mr. Markopouliotis, but I will try. And I will give a quick overview of the developments regarding the reception conditions for asylum seekers. We've seen in the recent year the reception center in Gofino reaching its full capacity for the first time since it was extended. However, this has brought on quite a number of problems, especially since the grants to cover the running of the center, the operation of the center, there's been a gap between, and it's left the center being run with skeleton staff, and this obviously raises many issues. It also raises once again the issue of the practicality, of the effectiveness of the reception center, issues that many NGOs had raised in the past. At the same time, we're also quite concerned with the fact that the majority of asylum seekers remain outside of reception center in very difficult conditions. It's also still of concern, and we have never received an official explanation by the authorities why such a low number of asylum seekers residing outside of the center are actually on the social support scheme. For those that are on this scheme and that we are in contact with, we have seen that this is inadequate and is not able to cover basic needs, especially for those who are families with children. To go to a positive, a somewhat positive development in the issue of detention, specifically of asylum seekers, not generally of detention, but specifically for asylum seekers. We've seen the new policy, which was adopted at the end of 2014, continue to be implemented. According to the new policy, the only asylum seekers who are detained are those who submit an application after they've been detained. For us, this is, as an organization, we are always advocating for the complete abolition of detention for immigration purposes and the promotion and establishment of alternatives to detention. However, this has to be seen as a step in the right direction, and we've gone from an average of a high number of asylum seekers, at times reaching 70, 80 asylum seekers in detention, to now having 20 to 25 at any given time. The Republic of Cyprus, unfortunately, has fallen behind in transposing the European directives, specifically for the Procedures Directive, for asylum procedures, as well as the reception conditions. The deadline was in July, and it's still not clear to date when the transposition actually will take place, and this is one of the issues that the Republic is actually under infringement, preliminary infringement procedures. This is not only an issue as that it exposes the Republic, but in the sense that it's left the procedures, the rights that asylum seekers may enjoy, the procedures, the improvement of the procedures, the recast directives are seen as an improvement to the original directives, and the fact that they haven't been transposed creates many problems, and this is something that we hope to see soon. Another such negative in the recent year was the ECHR's decision against the Republic of Cyprus, which again highlights problems in detention as well as in asylum procedures. We hope that in the coming year these gaps will be addressed in order to respect the human rights of persons seeking asylum in Cyprus. Another issue that is still, although this is something that has started from 2014, we had the amendment of the refugee law, which excluded the right to family reunification from persons under subsidiary protection. At the same time, although we did have the increase in recognitions, the policy followed is still to give the majority, to grant the majority of Syrian refugees subsidiary protection, which excludes them from the right to family reunification. In our work, we unfortunately have had to witness the desperation of people desperate, refugees desperate to bring their families, their wives, their children to join them in Cyprus. So this is unfortunately another issue that we hope to see a more positive development in the future. The integration of refugees in Cyprus unfortunately remains one of the weakest links in the national asylum system. What we are now witnessing is people being granted, refugees being granted protection much sooner, in a much timely manner than in the past. As I said, get a higher recognition rate, but the day after is becoming more dire. Where we are seeing refugees finding it nearly impossible to survive, and we strongly feel that this affects us all as a society, and it's an issue that definitely needs to be addressed as soon as possible. As mentioned by a previous speaker, Cyprus will receive 72 million euros from the European Commission to support and to manage asylum issues. However, we are still, although all the NGOs acting in this area have many times asked to be part of the designing of these schemes, we feel that we who have the knowledge and the know-how from the groundwork are often excluded from this. And as we've seen in the previous period, a lot of these funds being administrated in a way that was not effective, we very much fear that this will happen again. These funds are crucial not only to improve the gaps, but can also, if used in the best way, provide also a support to the economy, to the communities and the economy that definitely needs a boost. So very briefly, just to go over our work in 2015, it was a very interesting year with many challenges. With the boat arrivals, something which for us was also a first. We were requested as implementing partners of UNHCR, and we were present at all the arrivals or at the emergency camps, where we provided legal information, we assisted in the identification of vulnerable persons, and documenting the special needs. At present, we've also been, we have a small team working at Gofino to address this gap that I had mentioned before, which has been a very interesting experience, because obviously working from within always gives you a better view than commenting from the outside. We keep advocating for many issues, which we've seen improvement in the past year. We hope this will continue, such as issues of establishing an effective and fair examination of victims of torture, promoting alternatives to detention, facilitating children who arrived unaccompanied in the country once they reach adulthood to transit into the communities. We have also organized a network of volunteers who are active both in the cities as well as in the reception center, various empowerment and support groups such as the Women's Support Group, Homework Group, Greek lessons. However, besides our own activities this year, one of the most impressive happenings for us was the increased solidarity that we've seen from a big part of the society. This was a very pleasant surprise to us, that not only did many citizens respond to our calls for support, but many came on their own initiative, asking us how and where they could assist. We've also seen for the first time in Cyprus the creation of groups and initiatives from people not in the organizations that are usually active in this area, but coming together on their own and doing a lot of important work. We really hope that this will continue, and even more so with the events of the last weekend. I think it is very important for those of us who have a positive voice to make it louder and to encourage our society and our communities to continue not to give in to fear and to continue to support refugees, the people around us who are fleeing horrible situations, and support them as much as needed. We also hope that the authorities, that the government will also take on a more active role, as I think in this case the society once again has shown the way forward, and we hope that in 2016 this will be met by the authorities. So that's for me, and we will go very quickly because I know Mr. Lucas has another meeting he needs to